smoothly out there this morning.
6:33 is the time now. The community is still mourning the loss of a Michigan State police officer killed in the line of duty after being critically injured in a freeway crash.
MSP Motor Carrier Officer Daniel Kerstetter will be laid to rest later this week in Grosse Pointe Park.
Yesterday, a procession of state troopers escorted the hearse carrying Officer Kerstetter's body from Detroit Receiving Hospital to the funeral home.
Officer Kerstetter was making a traffic stop on I-75 in Lincoln Park Friday morning when an out-of-control SUV rear-ended his patrol car. The impact slammed his vehicle into a semi-trailer, pinning him underneath. He was removed from life support Sunday night.
This morning, we are hearing from a friend of the fallen officer to get a better picture of the man behind the badge.
7 News Detroit reporter Ryan Marshall live this morning for us in Oak Park, raising his voice. Ryan?
Well, Allie and Alicia, obviously Officer Kerstetter's loss is a tragic one for the MSP community and the greater Metro Detroit community at large. His family, his friends, and his colleagues, he was certainly beloved by all of them and people that knew him. Marty Mugerdichian shared fond memories of fallen officer Daniel Kerstetter. Both went through rigorous training together at the Michigan State Motor Carrier Officer Recruit School in 2023.
I remember him just telling me how excited he was about being in the class and being accepted. He couldn't wait to get into the class and start.
He says training was hard, but Kerstetter always uplifted others.
I remember telling my wife, I said, man, this is a special guy.
Kerstetter had been a motor carrier officer for nearly 2 years prior to his untimely death last Friday. Police agencies nationwide, along with Governor Gretchen Whitmer, shared their condolences. The governor said, quote, "The death of Michigan State Police motor carrier officer Daniel Kerstetter is heartbreaking. Michigan is grateful to MC Officer Kerstetter for keeping our family safe during his career. My heart goes out to his family, friends, and MSP colleagues during this difficult time."
All I can say is, if you met him, if you knew him, he was just a genuine good person.
Kerstetter left behind a wife, 3 children, in addition to countless friends and colleagues who loved him. He may be gone, but he will not be forgotten.
I remember him saying, he said, I just want my family to be proud of me. I was like, Dan, not only your family, I said, there are a lot of people I'm sure that are very proud of you, including me.
Now, visitation for Officer Kerstetter will be Thursday, September the 19th from 1 p.m. to 8 p.m. at the Charles Verheyden Funeral Home. That's at 16300 Mack Avenue in Grosse Pointe Park. The funeral will take place Friday, September 20th at 2 p.m. at St. Paul Catholic Church on 157 Lakeshore Drive in Grosse Pointe Farms. If you wish to make a donation to the Fallen Trooper Memorial, we have the information on WXYZ.com. Back here live, Officer Kerstetter's family has elected to have his organs donated so that way they can continue to extend his legacy. Those organs are going to go to several recipients in need clearly. Still a hero after his death. We're here live in Oak Park. I'm Ryan Marshall for 7 News Detroit this morning.
Such a loss for the entire community. Ryan, thank you.
Mind telling me, how you met him, how you guys came to be friends?
Sure. So back in 2022, we had both applied for the Michigan State Police, and we were accepted after about 6 months of, going through a lot of interviews and background checks and that sort of thing. And he had called me up one day after we were accepted into the 26 motor carrier officer class, which was going to start in January of 2023. He called me up one day. My wife and I were actually on a vacation up north, and he called me out of the blue and he said, hey, we're going to be in the class together. And he introduced himself to me, and we started talking, and he told me a little bit about him and his wife and his kids, and we spoke about how our life had been and what we were looking for in the future. And I remember him just telling me how excited he was about being in the class and being accepted, because it was a very rigorous application process to get in. I just remember it was months and months and months, and interviews, the Michigan State Police coming out and interviewing our entire family, And, just looking at your past I was going to be 58 years old and he was, I believe, 45. And so it was pretty long, rigorous uh, amount of time to actually get in and accepted. So we're both business owners. I had a business, and I was handing it down to my son, who was graduated, and he was going to take over our business. And at that point in my life, I was like, what else can I do, you know, at this later stage in life? And he was kind of at the point where he was like, I feel like I could give more than what I'm currently doing in my life. And he wanted to give back, just like me, to his community. And he was, I just could feel when I first spoke with him on the phone. I remember telling my wife, I said, man, this is a special guy. And we spoke for probably a good half hour to 45 minutes that day. And that's how I first actually met him, was on the phone. And I remember him calling. This was probably about I'm going to say 3 months or 4 months before we were going to start class. So this would have been sometime maybe around September or October of 22. And then I got a text from him another time. It was about 3 weeks before class started. And he was just making sure, hey, we're starting class in a couple of weeks. And still very excited. He couldn't wait to get into the class and start. And that's kind of how I met him. And we kind of struck a good friendship from there, us both being two of the oldest people in the class of recruits. So we were kind of, we were together in that aspect for sure.
So did you both become officers? What was that journey like?
Yeah, so it was very rigorous. I mean, I'm going to say that it was probably one of the toughest things that he and I probably have ever been through. I actually got hurt. It was the first week we were running up the stairs, and you're go, go, go. I mean, 5 a.m. in the morning, you're up, and you're going till 8 p.m. And I mean, you're constant, you're going. So we were running up the stairs. You had 100 recruits running up the stairs all at the same time. I actually fell. I had a couple of recruits fall on top of me, and I actually hurt my knee. And so I stayed in for 3 more weeks after that, I believe it was. And from there, I wound up having to leave because I was hurt where I needed surgery in my knee. So, but for those 3 weeks that I was with him in the class, um, I just remember all the great memories, of all the things that he did that were so compassionate. I remember at one point there was a trooper, and you have to realize that after the first week, I'm trying to remember how many people dropped out, but there were many, many recruits that dropped out just after the first week. You're there from Sunday afternoon until Friday, around midnight Friday, and you have no contact with your family that first week. You're there, that group of people you're with. So it's very challenging physically, and it was very, very challenging mentally, probably even more so. So you have to be a very strong person to make it through that class. So there were many that, they weren't able to make it. And I remember there was one individual trooper who did make it. And I remember walking down the hallway. It was probably about 9 o'clock, and we were getting ready to get to go to bed that day. And I saw the trooper had his civilian clothes on, and I'm like, oh no, he's leaving. And I remember he had tears in his eyes, and I remember Dan had his arm over him, and he was talking to him, and there were some other recruits around as well. And he actually convinced him to stay, and that person actually wound up staying and became a trooper. And I was so proud of him. I just was like, he was just such a compassionate guy. I mean, everything he did. I remember him coming in. I was studying in my room for an exam one day, and I remember him coming into the room, and he's like, Marty, hey, let's get together. Come on over into my room. We'll study together. We could help each other out. And I was like, wow, Dan, thanks. I I will be right over there. And he did. He had, there were 5 or 6 of us together in the room, studying, trying to make sure that we knew what we were going to do for the exam, and kind of bouncing things off each other, making sure that we were ready for an exam the next day. Um, I remember he had such a great sense of humor. We were in the gym one day, and we were practicing takedown moves. And, with us, we were kind of tag team together. So he was trying to take me down. I was trying to take him down. And we were kind of doing this thing where we were kind of going in a circle, and for about a minute. And he kind of whispered to me, he goes, "It feels like we're dancing." And I said, "Yeah, it does." And it just, all I can say is, if you met him, if you knew him, he was just a genuine good person. I mean, he would give the shirt off your back. I remember one day I forgot my clip. We were in gun practice, and I forgot my clip, both my clips actually, for my gun. And I said, "Oh man, I forgot my clip, Dan." And he grabbed his out of his pocket and he gave me his extra clip. He said, "Here." And just, he was always thinking about someone else. He really was always trying to make sure if there was anything that was ever, somebody fell one time in the lunchroom, passed out from exhaustion. And he was right there. I couldn't even believe he got to the kid so quick, but he was right there, and he and I grabbed the recruit and helped him off. But he was just unbelievable heart, compassionate, generally just a great guy. And it really hits home when you see the kind of things that can happen in the blink of an eye. I mean, he was a young guy. He had I remember him talking about his family, and we all have our reasons for going in. Mine was because I wanted to give back to the community, and him as well. And I remember him saying, he said, "I just want my family to be proud of me." I was like, "Dan, not only your family," I said, "there are a lot of people I'm sure that are very proud of you, including me." And I saw, last time I actually saw him was when he graduated. I went out there specifically to see him, as well as some other friends graduate. And he was supposed to actually come out to my home. I live on Sand Lake out in Onstead. And we talked about him bringing his kids and his wife out. And we knew his first year or two, he's going to be very, very busy. So, I said, "Once you get settled down," I said, "come on out, and we're going to hang out at the lake." And unfortunately, we weren't able to do that. So it's very sad. It's just very sad. But, I believe he was doing what he believed would help his family, which would help his community. And that was the person he was. Just a great guy.
Again, though, with the heartbreaking loss of Michigan State Police Motor Carrier Officer Daniel Kerstetter. Chopper 7 was flying over the procession mid-morning today as state police cruisers lined up to escort the hearse traveling from Detroit Receiving Hospital to the funeral home. Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. I'm Alicia Smith. Officer Kerstetter has died from injuries he received on Friday when his car was struck by another car along I-75, pinning his cruiser underneath a semi. State police tell us that he was removed from life support after the decision was made about organ donation. And 7 News Detroit has learned that Officer Kerstetter's organs were indeed donated, a move that shows he is continuing to save lives even after his death. As we look at more video of the police escort of his body, we are going to tell you the statement from Michigan State Police Director Colonel James F. Grady II. He says police are heartbroken for the loss and that traffic enforcement is a dangerous and honorable job. Officer Kerstetter was 45 years old. He joined Michigan State Police last year and was assigned to the Metro North Post. He is survived by his wife and 3 children, and we are certainly thinking about all of them today.